Clavicular has started to jail Max, as just recently he was arrested, and a lot of people seem to be a bit confused as to exactly why he was arrested, as a couple things have been circling around. Probably the most interesting clip is him in the Everglades shooting at a alligator.
Sure.
But this isn't the reason for his arrest. As a matter of fact, there was nothing that he did over the course of the last few days that ended him up in jail. There was actually a warrant out for his arrest in regard to something he did in February, and I want to share that with you guys today. There is so much just incorrect information about this guy right now. I'm assuming, based on how many people are clipping the ever-loving shit out of him, that I figured this would make sense to help you guys understand what's going on. But before we get started, if you're new here and end up enjoying the content, consider subscribing. Also, leaving this video a like helps you get out in front of more people, clarify the facts of what have been going on, perchance hype the video, but regardless if you do either, thank you for watching. Now, to get the obvious out of the way, Clavicular was arrested. As a matter of fact, the jail that ended up releasing him did not give him time to call his driver to come pick him up, so he got a very traditional media classic taste of paparazzi as he was trying to get somebody to come pick him up.
The influencer facing a battery charge in Osceola County, he walked out of jail just a few hours ago.
20-year-old Braden Peters, better known as Clavicular to millions of followers, not answering any questions as he walked out of BSO main jail Friday evening.
Do you have any comment on the charges against you?
What are your thoughts on charges?
Now, as you heard there at the beginning, he was charged with battery. It seemed like people were still a bit confused in regard to this because some footage ended up getting spread out by the likes of TMZ showcasing what he was specifically arrested in regard to. And I'm just going to show short clips of it because I don't know what I can even show on YouTube since there is a bit of fighting between the two gals. But Clav here is in the middle of it, and he's holding one of the girls down, or I guess just holding that girl while I believe his girlfriend is swinging in on her. This is another angle, again, from TMZ just on their website, showing the two women, I believe an ex-girl or just a girl that he was chatting to or something, and his girlfriend at the time, arguing back and forth. I can't even make out what they're saying with the audio on. But if we jump ahead here, there's a bit of back and forth, and then they actually start swinging at each other, and it ends up turning into what we saw earlier. Now, the reason people are a bit confused about this is because they're saying that this is an old clip, that this doesn't make sense for him getting charged for battery right now because this happened months ago or a month ago. But it is the case that this is the incident that he was arrested for because there was a warrant out for his arrest in connection to this situation. Now look, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know the law all too well, but I did a rudimentary search in regard to battery and how you can be charged for it in the state of Florida where this takes place. And it turns out you can be charged with battery if you even instigate a physical altercation between two other people. If you're found to be the reason that they got together, you set that up, you can be charged with battery. And that appears to be why this charge went forward, because as you saw, he was holding them. I don't know if that constitutes battery, but if we take a look here at this TMZ article going over it, they mention here that the cops are claiming he instigated a fight between his girlfriend and another woman to exploit them on social media. I'm assuming doing it for clicks. They followed up with saying sources close to Clavicular have told us that he didn't instigate a fight between the two women, and instead they say the alleged victim is simply looking for some notoriety. They also say Clavicular is autistic and was unsure of what to do when the fight broke out, which is why he behaved as he did. And they're mentioning this because in this clip, while they're going at each other, Clav is just kind of watching and trying to talk to them, I guess, during it, and then later on, I believe it continues on with the clip we saw earlier. I wanted to see if there was any more information on what led to him, getting this warrant out and ending up getting arrested. And from what the sheriff's office is saying of course, the county that ended up arresting him, they say that neither Clav nor one of the women that were involved in the altercation came out to speak to deputies about the incident when they arrived at the house to investigate. They continue on with the statement saying detectives from Osceola's sheriff's office completed their investigation after reviewing videos and talking with witnesses. Based off of that explanation, I'm under the assumption that maybe the sheriff's office themselves, or like the police officers that were there, ended up going forward with that charge. Again, if there's a lawyer or someone that works with the law, I'm curious to know if the police department themselves made the choice to charge him with that after seeing the information, or if they were also going off of this, alleged victim in this situation, saying that they wanted to press charges having enough information and going forward with that. But now I want to bring your guys' attention back to that earlier clip I was talking about that people were conflating with the situation that has to do with the gator that he was shooting in the Everglades in Florida. This coming from Drama Alert is one of the censored videos of this, and I'll play it out here. But as you can see here, they are firing multiple rounds into a flipped over alligator. You can't see with the blur. This was a clip that ended up circling around because he was streaming this, and this was happening shortly before his arrest, which is why people were assuming this is why he was arrested. TMZ sources say that his tour guide told him that he could do it because he asked if he could fire into it, which is the only reason he shot it. Now, first things first, it's flipped over because it's presumed to be dead. That's what everyone was under the understanding of. I'm not trying to frame this like Clav or anybody else were suspecting that this was a live alligator. And as you can see here from TMZ, they say our sources say his tour guide told him he could, which is the only reason he shot it. In response to seeing this clip circulating, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission made a tweet. The FWC is aware of a video depicting individuals in the Everglades on an airboat who appear to be discharging firearms at an alligator. FWC officers are looking into the incident and will provide additional information when available. Let me get this out of the way. Is shooting at the carcass of a dead alligator epic? Not to me personally, to the people watching his live streams consistently, maybe. But even with the FWC saying that they're looking into it, is this illegal? And I'll be honest, I did a little more research than I really thought I was willing to at first because it kind of got a little interesting. Here's the issue with what's going on here. So obviously this is the post from Drama Alert, and below it here, we've got that reader extra context here, the community note. This is a felony in Florida. This is the direct statute that they're linking to. A person may not intentionally kill, injure, possess, or capture, or attempt to kill, injure, possess, or capture an alligator or other crocodilian, or the eggs of an alligator or other crocodilian unless authorized by rules of the commission. Then it goes into explaining what would happen if they did do that. So here's the question I had. Well, what if you were shooting at something that was already dead? And I'll be honest with you, there seems to be very little, if any, legal precedent for what would happen if you shot at a dead alligator and did nothing else. The big issue is they have a bunch of restrictions in regard to you taking an alligator, like taking it, and that ends up getting legally defined. And it's mostly having to do with they don't want you to take alligators that you haven't legally killed, and they don't want, the illegal trade of alligator goods and some of their other protected wildlife. But there's no legal precedent for if you shoot at an already dead alligator and then proceed to leave the body alone. You should, per their laws and regulations, contact a specific number to let them know of where this dead body is so that they can dispose of it. Now I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I did some deep diving on the 2025 Florida statutes, and we go into this, and I ended up searching taking. And here's the legal definition. Take, in regard to the wildlife, means taking, attempting to take, pursuing, hunting, molesting, capturing, or killing any wildlife or freshwater or saltwater fish. And it finishes up with whether or not such actions result in obtaining possession of the wildlife, these alligators, freshwater, saltwater fish, or their nests or eggs. Now, yes, they weren't attempting to actually take the alligator out of the water and bring it with them, and that is clarified here that it doesn't matter if that is what you're doing, that you're trying to take it, but all of the other definitions or the way that they're describing this is in regard to effectively hunting a live alligator or any other live wildlife, because it's in regard to killing it or hunting it, pursuing it. All of these, or capturing it, again, even capturing if it is dead, they didn't do this. But all these other ones would indicate that the thing would have to be alive. How can you pursue something that's dead? How can you hunt something that is dead? But here, molesting, obviously that means something a bit different in typical connotation, but in this sort of situation, it would be like impacting the body, potentially shooting into the body of it. Now, in regard to the legal definition for molest here, the only one that I have here is only in regard to fishing trap or its buoy or buoy line, which means to touch, bother, disturb, or interfere or tamper with in any manner. I admit I probably went way too deep into that rabbit hole, but I was really curious because everything I was seeing was like, yeah, it's not okay, but the legal definitions of what they're talking about still don't make it clear as to if that's actually the case. Editor Quinthio, I couldn't stop thinking about this, so I went and chatted with another terminally online buddy of mine, and they brought up some interesting points, and I also wanted to round out a few of the things that I was saying already. Number one, this was taking place in the Everglades, which I had mentioned earlier, but I didn't really, go in depth about, having a firearm in a national park. Now, it is legal to possess and to carry a firearm in the national parks per federal law and all that good stuff. When it comes down to the use of firearms, unless authorized, the use or discharge of a firearm within a park area is prohibited. In parks where hunting is specifically mandated or authorized by federal statute, firearms may be used to hunt in accordance with NPS regulations, etc. Just that last line is kind of interesting. Visitors should not consider firearms as protection from wildlife. Number one, even the points that I was making in regard to this and how could you even really classify this as hunting, anything like that, kind of also puts this in a position where just the discharging of their firearm when they clearly weren't hunting, they also weren't protecting themselves from this wildlife. It was perceived to be dead. They were just mag dumping into this alligator. I'm led to believe that regardless of that, a potential blurred line when it comes to shooting at something that's already dead, discharging their firearm, especially when they're doing it into a body of water they can't see into, is reckless at best and potentially illegal in a bunch of other ways, just on the fact that they're discharging this and they don't know what else is in the water. Could be other alligators or other protected species of wildlife that they're not allowed to be even endangering by doing this kind of behavior. I don't know, I just felt like there was more to it, and I think it was important for you, the viewers, to have a bit more information that I had found. Very curious to hear what you guys think. If there ends up happening to be anyone that's familiar with case law in Florida, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to pin something to get more clarification on that. I did a bit of back and forth with ChatGPT to see if there was any publication in regard to anyone that was charged with the shooting of a dead alligator without, intent to distribute or, cut it up and sell its parts. And I couldn't find any. Admittedly, it was ChatGPT, so take that with a grain of salt. For me personally, no, I don't really think it's epic that you're unloading into the carcass of an alligator, especially wildlife that is supposed to be preserved, and especially if they have, contact for what to do with those bodies. At the same time, the guide along that trip said that he was free to do that. You would kind of expect that a tour guide for the Everglades should know the law in regard to what you can and can't do in a situation like that. But I'll be curious to see if we get any further follow-up from the FWC and what they end up choosing to do with that. But that's all I've got for you for Clav as of right now, as I'm working on the much larger video talking about all this. But if you found this useful, found it interesting, subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up or chance of hype, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Adios, peace, bye.